Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. We are going to cover a topic that is of concern to a lot of employers, the true cost of employee turnover. I'm Lisa Oxenhandler. With 25 years of experience, companies hire us as an outsourced HR partner and recruiting service, in part because we are trusted advisors, problem solvers. We've listened, and that's the reason we're covering this topic, the true cost of employee turnover. We're going to cover the areas that make an employee happy, the uppermost causes of employee turnover, how to measure the cost of the employee turnover, and share some solutions, many of which can be implemented as soon as today. Let's talk about what makes an employee happy. According to an October 2016 Forbes article titled, "The Biggest Way Small Businesses Can Make Employees Happy is Trustworthiness of Leaders. The perception that owners, managers, and supervisors are honest and ethical." That makes employees 10 times more likely to call their workplace great. Their study also showed that companies whose employees rated their workplace better than average, that's 3.5 on a scale of 1 to 5, enjoyed roughly 3 times the revenue growth of their counterparts. But measuring an employee's satisfaction or happiness level is not enough to retain top talent and build a successful business. Employees want to be engaged. Attracting the best employees in the world will not do a bit of good without an effort to retain them. Business suffers, turnover becomes a true cost, which Nicole's going to cover for us today.
Good afternoon, everyone, and Lisa, thank you very much. My name is Nicole Davis, and I have more than 15 years of experience helping large and small companies improve their profitability. And as we all may know, employee turnover has a significant impact on a company's profitability and success. That is why Lisa and I are so excited to share this information with you today. The first step to improving employee turnover is to understand why it is happening. While there are many causes of employee turnover, I will cover the top causes today. Unhealthy relationships with direct supervisors or coworkers is one of the main causes of employee turnover. The leadership in an organization must be top-notch. Leaders must lead by example, and trustworthiness is the most important measure, as well as healthy relationships with coworkers. Number 2, lack of appreciation and recognition. Employees still state that appreciation and recognition is very important to them. They work very hard at what they do, and they love celebrating the successes and being recognized for their efforts. Number 3, underutilization of skills. Employees want to be challenged and successful. When employees are bored at their work, or if it seems as if their efforts are making little to no difference, then they will eventually look for opportunities that challenge them and give them a sense of purpose. Lack of career path is also in this group. Top talent yearns for growth. If there's no clear career path for top talent, then it is likely that they will leave for an opportunity that provides them the next step in their career. Lack of training and personal development. Employees seek to continuously grow. They invest their time and effort in their organization, and they like to see the same in return. And by doing so, it really promotes a mutual relationship of investment and return that is a two-way street. Too few or inappropriate benefits. This one's pretty self-explanatory, but employees talk to each other and they talk to people outside the organization. So if benefits and pay are not competitive, they will seek more lucrative opportunities, or they could be recruited by companies that will provide them with competitive pay and benefits. And lastly, overall negative company culture. It is really important that bad behavior be dealt with in an efficient and swift manner. High achievers and employees in general are typically positive people, and they prefer to work in a positive environment. They spend a lot of time in their work environment. So bad behavior, as we all know, tends to poison the company culture, and top talent will eventually seek healthier work environments. Which leads us to, how do we measure the cost of employee turnover? In order to do that, that's our first step in the process, is to figure out where we are today. And unfortunately, many businesses are unaware of how much they actually lose when employees leave their organization. This inability is usually due to two things. We will touch on them briefly. The first one is either a lack of focus, or measuring employee turnover is not at the top of the priority list. And the second is lack of framework, actually having the ability or procedures lined out on how to measure the true cost of employee turnover, so the actual impact to the bottom line. Let's just go through how to calculate the cost of employee turnover. And we will cover two measurements today. The first one is very simple but very impactful, which is, what is the percent of your employee turnover? And the second is, what is the actual dollar cost? What is the actual cost of losing an employee in your organization? So employee turnover. Employee turnover measures the percent of employees exiting the organization over the measurement period. And it takes the number of employees that left the organization during the measurement period and divides it by the average number of employees during that same measurement period. So doing this, you may ask, why? This calculation can be helpful in identifying turnover related to exterior forces or related to certain initiatives. And just to give you an example, there may be high turnover rates in a construction company during the summer months. And it's important to identify those peaks and valleys so that it allows an organization to put measures in place to either lower employee turnover due to those causes, or to put into place long-term solutions to mitigate the risk of future employee turnover. The second measure of employee turnover is the cost of actually losing an employee. So there are many variables that go into calculating the dollar impact associated with losing an employee. Capturing the time and cost of employee turnover allows business owners to capture the direct financial impact to their bottom line. There are two costs that go into this calculation. There are hard costs and soft costs. The hard costs are concrete or tangible. These are easy to quantify, and they include things such as administrative time related to the exit process, vacancy costs such as coworker burden to make up for their time as well as the employee that left, hiring search firms or temporary agencies, administrative time developing advertisements, the cost of actually placing an advertisement, and then you have the entire selection and sign-on process, the costs associated with that. So there's a cost associated with interviewing. It requires many individuals' time. There's costs associated with reference checks, drug screenings, perhaps psychological testing, as well as orientation and onboarding, on-the-job training. The next category of costs are a bit softer. That's why we call them soft costs, and they're a little harder to quantify or measure. And many times these soft costs are dependent on the business itself or even based on the industry. So just to touch on a couple of the soft costs, soft costs include things such as lost productivity of the departing employee, lost productivity of coworkers because losing an employee is stressing them out. They're talking about the employee that left, therefore not working. Increased time associated with perhaps coworker burnout because they're trying to make up for the productivity loss of the individual that left. Lost productivity of supervisors due to either rescheduling or coordinating projects that still need to be completed. There's also recruiting, administration expenses associated with overtime, the actual screening of the resumes and all of that. There's also lost productivity when somebody is onboarding or training. So once we measure it, that's just going through the measurement of how to capture the actual cost. I will just speak about three of the biggest costs or cost areas that relate to most organizations, just to give you an idea of the time loss as well as the monetary loss. Hiring costs. So whenever we go and hire a new employee, there are costs associated with hiring that new employee. Obviously, there's time related to recruiting and interviewing, as well as the monetary impact associated with non-productive time of the interviewers, of assessments, drug screenings, costs in organization, money, as well as background checks. There are costs associated with onboarding and training, and onboarding and training can take some time. I mean, it's for a lot of organizations, it isn't just a week, it's months, sometimes half a year. So the time associated with onboarding and training costs is related to the new hire as well as the individuals training them. And then monetarily, like from a money perspective, there's lower productivity of the people that are training the new hire, as well as actual outsourced training services if the job requires that. And then lastly, there's an impact when there's high employee turnover within an organization. There can be an impact to employee morale, company culture, as well as the company's image. So from a time perspective, there is perhaps lost productivity due to stress, internal gossip, just people being distracted, which can make them less productive in and of itself. And then from a monetary perspective, direct impact to the bottom line associated with the lost productivity. The negative culture can actually impact relationships with vendors, customers, and the organization as a whole. If the organization has a reputation for high turnover, it may make it less desirable for top talent to come to the organization when the opportunity arises. The good news is there are ways to mitigate the risk of high employee turnover, as well as improving high employee turnover if that is a concern today. And that is what Lisa is going to talk about. What can you do today to improve employee turnover?
Thanks, Nicole. You know, becoming an employer of choice does not have to be a phrase that's only associated with large or worldwide companies. You can become recognized as an employer of choice, actually starting today with some of these recommendations. A boss that retains top talent cares about an employee's development, even preparing them for the next level within the organization. It's a win-win. An employer of choice promotes a culture which holds on to top talent by focusing on and developing the employee's strengths. Employees thrive when they're able to utilize their strengths. Employers of choice feed their employers' deep down need to develop and grow. And there are several high impact solutions which you can begin today. Create a strong onboarding program, show your employees that you care, and keep your commitments. By creating a strong onboarding program, well, first let me just say that that is so much more than filling out tax forms on their first day. It can make your new employee feel more welcome and included immediately. A strong onboarding program begins the day the new team member accepts the position. It demonstrates, even before they begin working, that the big picture, and it allows a broader understanding of strategies, projects, company culture, and even a shared mission. It also jumpstarts familiarity with the people he or she will be interacting with, which Nicole mentioned earlier with regard to relationships. The onboarding program should continue through the employee's first few months. You begin as soon as the new hire's paperwork has been signed and take it through at least their first 90 days. The second area is to show your employees that you care. Focus on the things that they do right. Recognize their accomplishments. Learn that the employees, what their employee strengths are. And we can actually help you with that through Strengths Finder 2.0, but let them concentrate on those as much as possible. Communicate the company's vision, and always, always encourage your employees to share ideas, and then take action on those ideas when it's feasible. The third thing is keeping your commitment. What you do says so much more than what you say. It seems simple enough, but when you say that you're going to give an employee a day off or a raise or responsibility, do it if that's what you've said you'll do. There's also a lot of new programs and systems, things that I actually call purple squirrels, and I've chased a few of those. Things that can really appear quite exciting. But before letting anyone know that you're going to do this or that, be sure it's something that you really want to or can take on. There's nothing wrong with asking help in exploring those new systems, just in case you do decide that it's in the company's best interest. But don't say you are doing one thing and then do an entirely different something else or nothing at all. Employees report the highest overall levels of trust when a leader takes pride and recognizes them for what they do. Leadership will probably notice increased productivity as well as other behavioral differences like punctuality, taking additional responsibility, and other traits, all that add up really, really quickly. It also creates a sense of camaraderie and improves the overall culture. So if you do these things immediately, you'll see results. Creating a strong onboarding program, show your employees that you care, and keeping your commitments. You know, one of the questions that I am asked most often is, Lisa, where do you find top talent? And while that answer can fluctuate with industry or the type of position or whether it's a direct hire or any other variable, there is one consistent answer, and that's your current employees. When your organization is an employer of choice, your employees become raving fans. They will recruit for you. They'll tell their friends and their family about what an outstanding organization you are, and people will want to work for you. That said, Nicole and I would welcome the opportunity of discussing how to become an employer of choice. And she's going to share a bit of information about how to do that. Thanks, Nicole.
You're welcome. Thank you, Lisa. That is some great information on what organizations can do today to have an immediate impact on their employee turnover. What Lisa and I would like to extend to everyone today is, we offer several services. We call it a checkup, diagnosis, and then a long-term wellness plan. And we would just like to extend an invitation for a one-on-one checkup with us. And the checkup is complimentary, and it entails a 60-minute consultation. We can do it virtually or we can do it in person. It's whichever you prefer. And we will sit down with you and learn more about your organization, what your needs are, what you're experiencing, and have a conversation. What are you doing today, and is that working for you? How do you feel about that? So our numbers are located below. We would really welcome the opportunity to talk with you and explore the possibilities. So thank you so much for joining us today. We hope this information was very helpful, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, Nicole. And one thing that I would like to say, in case they don't see the numbers down below, my phone number is 314-669-4473.
Great.
And you can always reach Nicole at 314-272-0727. We're looking forward to talking to you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.